first webinar meeting that we're having on what inspires you. We decided to do this to see, well, there were different reasons. I mean, and it seems like it's kind of morphing into its own goal. But we wanted to try to enhance the communication between the liaisons of the different TOS groups. Because we've noticed that a lot of the liaisons in the TOS groups are not speaking to one another. And also to help enhance the communication between the board and the liaisons. And also to communicate with those who just want to serve. The TOS is, you know, it's a service organization, and we need to make sure that those that are familiar with the TS, or even outside of the TS but are familiar with the TOS, are feeling supported in their service work. So we decided that let's see if this is going to work at all, you know, because if we can do something that helps bring inspiration, we can share that inspiration and in turn take that inspiration back to the groups with us. If there's anybody that's on the board that, you know, is part of this idea, Kathy, Rosie, Joyce, you know, you're welcome to speak up. Barbara, I don't want to be the only one talking. My voice gets very boring. But before we start, I do want to say a big thank you to Jim, because Jim, you know, helps. He's so kind and he's so patient. There's two lions outside of the New York Library, and their names are Patience and Fortitude. And honest to God, Jim's got that. Jim's got patience and he's got fortitude. So a big thank you to him. Is there anything that any of the board members would like to contribute? Nope.
Not a board member, but this is
Kathy.
Well, I'm
Kathy.
TOS liaison. I'm wondering how many people here are liaisons. Sometimes my list gets a little bit out of date, so I'm not entirely sure. I believe Walter is. Anybody else is a liaison for their local group?
Okay.
Rosie, I think you are.
Yeah, I
Sure,
feel
Kathy, yeah. Diana was speaking, but we didn't hear her, did we?
Diana, can you unmute your mic?
I don't even know if I have a
There you go. You've unmuted it.
okay. I don't even know if I have a local group.
Okay.
She doesn't even know if she has a local group.
Where are you, Diana?
Phoenix, Arizona.
You do have a local group. You do have a local group. Off the top of my head, I cannot who your liaison is, though.
Well, I'll try to get it off the website.
Okay. But there is a group in Phoenix.
Let me take a look. I know Sherry Pelton is the leader of the group, but I'm not remembering off the top of my head. While the video plays, I'll look that up and find out who the liaison is.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds great. But Diana, we're so happy that you're with us. You know, maybe you can inspire the Phoenix group to start service projects.
And I'm the liaison for Ojai.
Right. Carol is the liaison for Ojai. So let's just introduce ourselves, because I don't know if everybody knows each other. I'm Ananya, and I'm the president for the TOS. I've been with the TOS for longer than I would like to share, and some of us have. But just feeling very happy to have the turnout that we've had. Next.
I'm Sandra Knapp from Los Angeles. I don't have a group of TOS people. I have a small study group. We're studying the secret doctrine, but I do charity work on my own.
Okay. Sandra, we're so happy you're with us.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Carol Nicholson. I live at Crotona, and I've been on the TOS board, I guess, coming a year and a half, something like that.
I'm Rosie Ulix, and I'm also on the TOS board, and I run the Animal Healing Meditation Network.
I'm Diana Warren. I live in Phoenix area, and I do a great deal of teaching in local adult education programs. People that love theosophy and wisdom. That's my primary service activity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Diana, for being here.
I'm Walter Turpak from the Red Bank Lodge in New Jersey, and the TOS liaison.
I'm Barbara Hebert from Alcott, and I'm on the TOS board.
And she has a few other little jobs.
Walter, we're so happy you could join us. Diane, or Barbara, we're so happy you're here. Barbara's also the president of the Theosophical Society in America. She's just not telling people. Nobody knows. Keep it a secret.
I'm hiding.
She's hiding. Ed?
Ed Moskowitz. I'm the treasurer of the Wheaton Olcott Lodge.
Ed's also, I was at the meeting the other night. Ed is a very, very insightful man, so he doesn't give himself enough credit. So, Dragana?
That's not my job.
I don't know if Dragana can hear us.
Dragana?
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
so
we can hear
sorry.
you now.
I'm Dragan. I'm the secretary of TS Lodge, and yeah, I do some service projects whenever they're organized. And today I'm just, I came to see what kind of ideas you guys have for future projects and development of TOS. Nice to see
Where
you
are you
all.
from, Dragana?
Oh, I'm Serbian. I'm from Novi Sad, Serbia.
Welcome.
I mean, also I'm American. Actually, I've been on the continent for 24 years now, but my accent will always stay.
I know another Dragana here in Ojai, and she's Serbian also, so maybe it's a name there.
Oh, great.
I used to call her Dragana, but it's Dragana, right?
It's
Okay.
Dragana, actually, but I noticed that people have a hard time pronouncing it like that. So I give freedom to everybody to pronounce my name anyhow.
Yeah, when you have a name that is not common, like Anne or Mary or whatever, then you have to just allow people to call you whatever comes to their mind.
Exactly, yeah.
Even if it's
Siri,
not complimentary.
Siri cannot figure your name, Ananya.
Huh?
When I type Siri on my iPhone, cannot figure out your name.
No, no. Yeah, unfortunately. Joyce, did you introduce yourself?
No, I haven't. I'm Joyce Barrett from the Denver, Colorado area. Been a member of the Theosophical Society since '88, and first year as a board member of the TOS, and I'm very excited and enthused because it's really part of living our beliefs for Theosophical Society.
Oh, we're putting Joyce out there for PR purposes.
He is a service angel.
Yes, yes. Okay, is that everybody? I think so, yeah? Nobody's replying, so I don't know. Okay, so the first video that, just to let you know, for those of you that weren't, you know, the people that are on the board, the way we put this together. So we all had to come up with a 5 to 8 minute video that was inspirational. And the reason being is that we figured that what we could do is we could screen the video and then have a small discussion about the video, and then hopefully it would create some energy that inspires people to go out and do service work, or for them to come up with ideas within their lodge or their study group to take up a service project. So let's go ahead and watch the first video, which is called Be the Change. Jim, if you want to go ahead and screen that.
Now, some of the things that's going to happen when you look out and see what can I contribute to, what can I give, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have a voice that's saying, it's just no use. It's out of control now. There will be a voice telling you that you'll be wasting your time and wasting your energy and wasting your effort. I say don't listen to it. Listen to that still small voice that says, I can do something, and I ought to do it. We ought to do it. Disraeli said this: nothing can resist the will of a people that will stake even their existence on the extent of their purpose for good. I strongly believe that all of us have some work to do, that each one of us showed up to do something, that each one of us showed up to contribute something to life, and that if we don't do it, it will not be done. Be it that you want to help and contribute to youth or do something for the homeless, whatever you want to do, if you get up in the morning out of a sense of ouughtness and decide that I am an opening for the universe, that life can work through and use me as a channel and as an instrument for change.
How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. You are ready and able to do beautiful things in this world. And after you walk through those doors today, you will only ever have two choices: love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart.
Begin to see yourself as an opening for the universe, to move through, to work through, to make a difference in life. See yourself being used by life to improve the quality of life, to expand and to grow.
Thanks, Jim.
I love that video.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. Comments?
I like it because, sorry, I was going to say I like it because it has a theosophical message. I love the part about opening so that the universe can work through you. That seems very consistent with our teachings about opening so that higher will can work through us.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kathy. I was thinking the same thing. That's one of the lines that I ended up noting down, because I actually watched the video before we're watching it now so that I could just get some thoughts together. Anyone else? Comments? Are you sleeping?
Did you like it or not like it, or what about it jumped out for you?
It is inspiring. I think it kind of covers a lot of situations, a lot of different types of people and issues. Is it available to other people? I mean, is it all by itself?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. These were, so this webinar series, all the videos are available on YouTube. So we can send you out the link for this particular video. And I think if you just Google Be the Change Inspirational Video, you will see it again. It's up on YouTube. But this was one of the videos that our board members picked out and said, you know, let's screen this one.
Sandra, this one was posted on YouTube by Culture City, Culture with a K, and that'll help you find the right one.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll say, since the first time I saw this when we screened it for the board, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but when you watch that video, it really reflects, I think, a lot of the chaos that seems to be happening around us nowadays. And like Kathy said, that theosophical message of, you know, you don't have to fix all of the world's problems. All you have to do is step outside your door and make that decision. Am I going to be a channel for love or a channel for fear?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like ever since I first saw it, you know, that has stuck with me. And, you know, I think that's the question every day. How do we make that decision, keeping in mind that we are theosophists and, you know, we're sort of pledging ourselves to help. You know, we're sort of pledging ourselves to be on the side of the good guys. I'd be curious to know, you know, how other people, when you know, we have these theosophical webinars, and we talk about these things, but you know, in everyday life, how do these ideas manifest for us individually? Like, how do people put these into practice every day?
Well, for me, when we rescue the dog, I start crying, and I just cry through the rest of the video. That's happened every time. But I work with the public. I mean, I work at Crotona, right, at the bookstore, but as theosophists, sometimes we're kind of judgmental of people that have psychic abilities that just have happened naturally. So I have people come in with a wide variety of things to talk about, and I find when I don't judge them that I can just see the suffering. And so I think even every day, just receiving people where they are and not judging them, and really wanting to be an instrument, not in the beautiful and dramatic ways the video shows, but just in the small ways. This woman had had her child taken from her, and she may really have been kind of crazy, but I didn't have to focus on that. I could focus on her as an individual.
Amen to that, Carol. That was what I was going to comment on too. The video portrays all these huge heroic events, and most of us don't have those kinds of opportunities. Most of us are not pilots or performers or things like that. But we don't have to do the big, huge things. We can take every opportunity that comes our way. Just smiling and making eye contact, letting somebody know that you're concerned, that you care. With all these disasters going on, there's just so many ways just to show that we care. That helps a lot.
This is Sandra. They did show some people just talking to homeless people. I work, what I'm doing right now is mostly with homeless people. There's a group here called Recycled Resources for the Homeless, and on Saturday mornings they provide breakfast for them. So I go over there and help cook and serve and whatever, and when I can, I get some of the items that the homeless need, like not cosmetics, but deodorant and soap and things like that. And I carry bottled water in my car, and sometimes I make up a little bag with some Kleenex and the water and something else, other things that they might need, chapstick or something, and hand that out if I happen to see somebody. A lot of times out here in California we have people at corners and freeway exits and all that with signs, so it's pretty easy to do that,
That makes me think of if a whole TS group, a whole branch or study center, if everybody just did that, made up little packets or had the bottles of water and just sort of delivered those. Just, it's easy to stop and bring those. What a difference that makes. And the other piece for me is how important just listening is. We don't stop and listen to each other very much, but that is a true act of service.
There's a saying, the greatest gift you can give another person is rapt attention.
Joyce, and I work downtown Denver, and I have to walk between buildings or 16th Street Mall, and there are so many homeless, and so many of them obviously have mental illness, but many people are afraid to really talk to them because they're afraid, they're going to start begging. But I found out I've just started talking with them and smiling, and they're very appreciative. And then at work, we organized socks. So we had people donate socks, and so when we're riding our free shuttle bus, I try to be very, it's difficult. You don't want to embarrass them, but then I'll just say, hey, I have a bag of socks I can give out. Are you interested? And most of them are very grateful. So that is something where I'm just doing right there from our office building.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to comment on, is that all of you are basically saying exactly what I was thinking, is that the video shows these. It's very easy to get very caught up in a video that plays this dramatic music, shows these dramatic scenes, and service work isn't always beautiful. And it's not often seen. I mean, true service work is often not seen. It's not on camera because you're not a rock star and you're not a movie star or whatever. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. And sometimes the smallest acts, like Joyce, just what you were talking about, or even how Barbara talked about listening, those are so important, especially today because we live in a world where people don't really listen to each other. And everybody has someone, there are so many people out there who really don't have somebody to talk to. So they call hotlines and talk to people anonymously because they don't have anyone to share their story with.
One thing that I realized is service for me is I sell building materials at a flea market on the weekends. And over the last week I was there, and it just seemed like people were so desperate to just have somebody listen to them. And one guy who, he's a vendor there, and he found out he may have cancer. And he just wanted somebody to listen to him and talk about his fears. And yeah, I think the act of listening really just made a difference. And it was a very special day in terms of the communication. For some reason, last Sunday was, I don't know, but you're right. People need somebody to pay attention to them. And maybe that's why humanity is kind of failing itself, if it is at all, is because we don't take the time for each other.
This is Ed. I think of service as part of our job for spiritual transformation. And if the purpose is our spiritual transformation and facilitating others' spiritual transformation, I think that's the sort of the highest form of service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things I wanted to comment on is, and I feel like I drone on and on about this, but, you know, they said choose love or choose fear. And I got into a discussion with somebody about this, and we were talking, and the person was saying, you know, I wish that perhaps it's better to try to make service projects as easy as possible, but we have done that. The TOS has done that, and service is really quite easy. I mean, you find a volunteer group that's already doing the work, and you just join them. There places like food banks are always looking for volunteers, but I think that one of the things that might need to be gone into a bit more deeply is the whole fear aspect. It's amazing how much fear people have, which keeps them from being able to help each other. You know, you see somebody on the side of the road. One of the things I constantly do is I see somebody stopped on the side of the road. The first thing I do is check to see if they've got a cell phone. Have they been able to reach out to somebody? And if they're just sitting in their car without a cell phone, I mean, I stop, even though I've been told several times, don't do that. You're a single woman. Don't do that. But I can't, me personally, I can't allow the fear to overtake doing what I feel is right. And I don't know, has anyone else experienced that? Where fear has stopped you from doing something to help another person.
I think that's what Joyce was talking about. Mm-hmm. We have a tendency not to reach out to somebody who looks different, seems different, whatever, because it's kind of fear-based. We're just not sure what their response is going to be. Mm-hmm. And although I would be the first or one of the first to tell them to not stop, or someone, you know, stopped on the side of the street. But I hear what you're saying. Let's not let fear stop us. And that was a big, when I was listening to the video again, it really struck me. How many times do I not do something out of fear?
And the tricky thing with fear is when it comes up and you feel it as fear, you recognize it, but it comes up as excuses. And, you know, well, you shouldn't stop because, you know, and it's not because you're afraid, because, you know, we're all so cool, so we're not afraid. But it's really something to examine because it can be very subtle.
Mm-hmm. Which is part of that spiritual journey that Ed talked about, that service is this spiritual journey. So what stops us, what motivates us?
I'm embarrassed to say it, but I think I need to. I was in Kenya, and there were a lot of people that were Muslims, and my fear of that came up really strongly. I mean, I was woke up one morning and just had kind of random fear, and really got over hating myself for it, and then really asked sincerely to be relieved of it. And then in the airport, Muslim man, white hat, long white, I don't know what they call them, came out of the bathroom. And he came out of the bathroom and I thought, look at that, he pees just like every other guy. And somehow that helped break it for me. So I think sincerely wishing for ourselves to change and be of more service does make a difference.
Carol, I love the fact that you are so forthcoming. I really do. I really do. And you're saying it with so much humility. I hated myself and I had to get over that. Then you realize they all pee. Everybody pees.
The universe just really, I really do take this spiritual practice very seriously, and when I am willing, funny things like that happen, and sudden, who could figure out that would make me feel better and not as afraid, but the universe brings us things like that when we're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just, I've been in Kenya, and I was in Kenya when the extremists went into the college and killed those students. I was there at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And so there was a safety factor, but I never felt frightened. But we had to change my itinerary because, I couldn't go where I wanted to go. And then I had a little bit of fear about the fact that they had posted my name and that I was an American, in these different spots. But I kept on saying, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, but I do understand what you're saying. And I think part of it is the hype that media does, is this thing that we have to be afraid. And that's why I thought that we should talk about this whole fear factor, because it's if we didn't have all these other things telling us to be afraid of each other, would we be afraid of each other?
Right. That's what it was. It was election time. And it looked like the Arab Muslim party versus the Black African party. I don't know if it's true, but it was my story and my fear. What if they become Muslim? It was all in my head. I had friends there, as you know, met Theosophists, met TOS people, had a beautiful experience with that. But it was Ed telling me, and you see, if I'm someone who's relatively aware, then you can understand as America the prejudice that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is interesting how you can translate that prejudice into so many different factors of different categories of people, based on whatever the case is.
In this case, just look.
Right, and the title. They identify as Muslims. They dress that way, that sort of thing. And suddenly it puts them in an other category.
Yeah, instead of a thou category.
Right. But the beauty, this is the beauty of spirituality and our spiritual path, is that if we can get past, when we can have that moment of aha, like you did, oh, everybody pees. He pees too. I know it sounds very funny, but actually what you've done is just peeled away another layer of that, you're the other and I'm here, and that's when you've done that's when you've moved toward real service, is when we can get past those difficult times.
This conversation has helped me to recognize a point in my life just recently, actually about 5 or 6 months ago, when my husband and I returned to Detroit to visit family. And the family lives in the suburbs of Detroit. And they took us down to Tiger Stadium to see a ball game. However, they wanted to avoid all the black folk that were around. It was so obvious that I felt like I had to take sort of action. So as we were leaving the stadium, there were two employees who were out in the parking lot kind of directing traffic. And my family wanted to move past them without even looking at them or acknowledging them. And I stopped to talk to them. And we got into a discussion about the Tigers and this and that and the other thing. And my family was forced, in a way, to come over and join the conversation. And I really think through that little interaction, I helped be of service to them to recognize this thing that they were maybe fearful of or prejudiced about. So I think these opportunities for service, they pop up all the time. And they may not be exactly within your mission vision statement for what you're doing for TOS, but they certainly do appear.
Mm.
Diana, if I may, do you have something to write down the phone number of the leader of the Phoenix group?
Yes.
It is Sherry Pelton,
Okay.
P-E-L-T-O-N. And her phone number is 480-695-6528.
480-695-56.
The last four are 6528.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
What about anyone who's not really spoken?
Barbara, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. No, you're fine, but it's so funny because I was just about to say that and you, boom, you're there. You're fine. Barbara always worries she's being Miss Bossy Pants. Sandra, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I already mentioned what I had to say.
Okay. All right. So what about thoughts about within your group? I mean, did the video help at all with coming up with ideas about things that you might be able to do? Has the discussion helped at all?
Now, I'm not really in a specific group, but what it reminded me and what this conversation has reminded me is that the concept of service starts with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And to work on that piece, that self-awareness piece about fear versus love. And once, I think if I'm dealing with my own awareness, with whatever fears I may have about going out and doing whatever service project it is, then I can help others in my group, if I had a group, to sort of work on that as well. But I have to be comfortable before I can encourage others to work with me. That's kind of what came to me when you asked that question.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Because if you're saying to somebody out at random, go up to a homeless person and give them water, and you haven't done it, then the other person isn't going to go do it. You know, you maybe invite somebody to come. So there is that comfort factor if you're doing a particular project. And but it takes the courage to step out and be the first one to do that.
Yeah, which is actually our next video next month.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. If we are not prepared and ready to walk the walk, you know, we have to set the example first. But if we're not comfortable doing it, or ready, then nobody's going to be following our example.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a very important point. We have to practice this every day a little bit. And then, you know, as we grow stronger, we can set a better example. Other people will jump on board.
And it's okay while we're working, and it's okay if we're afraid, and there's no don't reprimand ourselves if we've missed an opportunity. You know, this is a growth curve, but I think the more we in meditation and in our quiet time really want to be of service, the more the world will show us opportunities.
In that regard, I wanted to mention to everybody that in the month of October, we are doing, for the liaisons, we're running actually for everybody, we're running a TOS campaign for kindness. And this is an opportunity for everybody who I know is kind anyway. Most of us are very kind people anyway, but it's an opportunity to maybe do a little bit of extra, just little acts of kindness, even micro acts of kindness, like making eye contact and smiling at someone, or like Diana said, just talking with someone. Picking up little bits of litter on your daily walk, or just anything you can think of, big or small. And then by November 15th, for those of you who've participated in that, I'm asking that you send me an email and just let me know some or all of the acts of kindness that you did in October. And then hopefully I can put all that together and do something fun with it.
Kathy, why don't you, I would encourage you to think about sending that in to be included in the TSA e-newsletter as a TOS
That's a good
project.
idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So it gets out to all the membership, so it's, increasing that, but it's also increasing awareness of TOS with the membership.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to put it up. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you are right. We need to put it on the website. I was going to give my email address just to this group so they can send me the email in November. It's info@denverts, as in Theosophical Society.org. info@denverts.org.
Yeah, we should put it up on the TOS website and the TOS Facebook page.
I'll send you a write-up.
Okay, that sounds great, and I'll get it posted. Does anyone have any other thoughts, comments, questions?
I was just going to give a little lovely follow-up on my story. This, again, the gifts of the universe. By seeing this man come out of the bathroom, I decided I didn't have to be afraid, and right behind me when I came back to my stepdaughter was a woman, all you could see were her eyes and hands, like burqa, is that what those things are called?
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, so she was completely covered, and she was with her husband, and, 5 minutes ago that would have made me afraid, but instead I turned around and started talking to her.
Oh, how lovely.
Because I needed to reinforce, and we were going to the beach, and she lived at the beach, and she told me a good restaurant to go to for local food, and, she loved her kids. I mean, could have been any woman anywhere in the world I was talking to, and, that was just very healing. So sometimes when we're afraid, it does take just that first step, because really, once you connect with a person, homeless, any color, any religion, we have so much more in common than we do that's different. And we know that in our heads, but to act it in our hearts, to me, is what TOS is all about. Well, one of the things.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we're recording that, because I was about to say, oh, Carol, could you repeat that again? Because I want to write that down. I'll go back and watch the webinar again, because I'd like to. I think your story is really kind of, it's a pivotal story. It's one of those stories that hits home, because underneath that burqa is a woman who has bore children, and she loves her children no differently than any other woman, and she eats no differently and loves food no different than any other woman. It's just that she dresses differently.
Right. Right, and was so helpful. She could have been like, oh, she's an American, and why would I help her? You know, she could have had a whole story. I don't know. Maybe she did, and I didn't see it. But, you know, she clearly loved where she lived and wanted to share it and wanted me to get to see some of the things that were more about daily life than tourism. So we went to this place with plastic forks, and they serve you, I don't know, like 10 tons of food for $3 or so. I mean, it was just fantastic. You know, it was just all local food.
Yeah.
You never know, Carol. Her conversation with you could have been as pivotal for her as it was for you. So
I just thought of that because I actually had a colored boy, I don't want to say boy, that sounds bad, a colored young person from South Africa stay after we talked one time. I met a nice person from America. Like, that was surprising. So, you know, this mistrust or whatever works in a lot of different directions.
Yeah. It is very much like the posting that's on the Facebook page that George Arundel said, that anything that you've thought or said about another has probably been thought or said about you. You
That's
know?
love.
Yeah, and it really kind of, it makes you take a step back and really eat some humble pie.
Oh, I don't know. Mostly I think you're amazing, so I must be amazing.
Oh, Carol.
I'll shut up now.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap this up. Has anyone any final comments to make? Anything that they'd like to contribute? I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking.
Somebody has to facilitate.
Yeah, I know. I just hate it. I feel like I drone on and on. So
I think we had great participation. I appreciate what everyone's input was. I think we had a variety of points of view in different places in the country, and I think it was great.
yeah. Yeah, and I really do hope that for the next month that all of you can participate again and try to get some more people involved. You know, it really is much more fun to do a service project when you've got other people with you. Because our little group at Alcott, I mean, we get together to go help out at the Humanitarian Service Project, and it's not just about doing the service work, it's about the community, you know, which is it's just absolutely lovely. And then, of course, we've got Floyd there, so, you know.
This program has been real helpful for me because it's as though we've got a support group here, wherever we share what we've learned and and maybe at some point challenges that occur. It just gives more emphasis to continue what you're doing or start something else.
That's awesome, Diana. That's awesome to hear. No. Okay, so I can't remember when our next one is. It's in, what month are we in? We're in September. Oh, God, help me. But you know what I'll do is I'll send out a reminder to everybody because I have your email addresses. And just to remind everybody when the next one is. And of course I'll post it on Facebook and get it on our website and all that fun stuff. But if no one has any other comments to give or, you know, anything to say, then I just wanted to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for, you know, for coming and participating and your comments and the stories that everybody shared. So.
And thanks to you and the board members for putting this together.
Oh, well, you're part of that, Kathy. So, yeah, I do want to thank my board. I've got a great board. So I just love our community. I really do. And I'm very, very grateful to all of you for expanding that community. So this has been wonderful.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. All right. So hopefully we will see all of you next month.
All right.
Meet you all.
Bye-bye.
See you.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.